So the brand is more of like, I don't do it for money.
Right.
So it's more of like purely passion, and because I believe it's something that can really impact the world at its
Mm,
full potential. Now, getting it to its full potential is always the hardest part. You feel
yeah.
me?
What's good, bro?
Chilling?
Chilling,
Yes,
chilling.
sir.
I'm dapping you up like I haven't seen you earlier. How's everything been, bro?
It's been good. Just
Yeah.
trying to get the podcast going. So I'm
Okay.
happy to be shooting the first one
Yeah.
again, because some of the stuff with the SD card broke and all that. But
Gotcha.
I'm grateful just to be here.
Yeah, for sure. You look
So,
good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I like the hoodie.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Bro, so my name is Jose. Just to let the listeners know, bro, Josh, you and I've been friends for a while. And I know from the get, you've been like a very creative, the most creative individual I know, honestly.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. As far as like all arts are concerned, so
Sure.
I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your brand, bro. Like the genesis of it, like Natives, right? Feel me? Like what does it mean to you, or you know what I'm saying? Like what is Natives?
So Natives is it's a Christian clothing brand.
Okay.
And it wasn't always like that. Like in high school, I didn't believe in God or anything like that. And it started off with like, we're all native to the world. So I looked up to people like Leonardo da Vinci, like the Egyptians, Mongolians, because I was sitting in an AP World History class, and my teacher was kind of like breaking down these people in history. And she was like, yeah, my favorite person in history is Genghis Khan. And I was like, who has a favorite person in history? Like that's weird.
crazy.
You feel me? Like, but then when she started to get into his life and like how much he did, I just became kind of like obsessed with the impact.
Yeah.
You feel me? So because I always wanted to be like significant and have impacts and all those different things. So I saw like all these different people throughout time that were able to do it. So that's how like the word natives came, because, or the name natives came because they were all native to the world and they were all able to do something like really big with little things. You feel me? So I was like, yeah, I want to inspire people in that way. So I named the brand Natives. But then when I became a Christian, it kind of changed, because like Genghis Khan is not a Christian figure. You feel me?
I feel that.
Like,
I feel that.
So I actually stepped away from the business for about a year to kind of figure things out with God and like figure out who he was and like what the Bible like said and how do I follow that. And then I came back, and then God's been working on me still, but I feel like the vision is now we're all native to the world, and God's way is the way to live. Because like through the scriptures, you see that he's trying to really redesign the world and restore it, So yeah, that's like what the brand is and kind of how it started a little bit.
Did you always have a brand prior to that history class, and then you named it Natives, or was it that class that made you be like, yo, I love clothes, and now I'm gonna start a clothing brand named Natives?
Yeah, good question. I mean, growing up, I always loved clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, we loved music growing up, like Nelly. My mom used to
Right.
love like 50 Cent, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And my sister loved hip hop and stuff. So, but my dad wanted me to have my own business. And he'd always talk to me about that.
Yeah.
So then when I was in high school, I used to draw a lot. Like I loved graffiti, so I would draw my planners a lot and try to like practice. And I was drawing in my AP class.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking like Apex or like Omnipotent and like all this like just power names, you feel me?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what most guys
Omnipotent,
do.
that's crazy.
Yeah, like a brand name Apex something or like
Right.
Alpha or something, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then when she said that, it just like kind of clicked. Like it was weird. And I just started drawing Natives, and then I would just keep drawing it in my planners. And then that's kind of how like it all, I guess, kicked off in a way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when you say like native to the world, what does that mean?
Yeah, like I try to find a common ground between everyone. And marketing wise, it's horrible, because marketing, they always ask you like, just pick an audience and then just keep hammering down in that audience.
On that one audience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So don't ever try to be too broad. But I'm like, if I'm trying to like change the entire world, like there needs a common ground, right? Like we all need to agree on something. Like there has to be a truth. And it's like right now, I mean, now unless Elon Musk lands on Mars sometime
Right.
soon, you feel me?
Right.
We're all from Earth.
Yeah.
So we're all native to the world. So like the word natives is really to try to build a common ground for people to be able to connect with the brand, you know?
And that's amazing.
It's crazy.
So the word natives is like basically a common ground. Like everybody has this in common.
Right.
And that's crazy. Okay. And like another thing I wanted to ask you was, 'cause I got my notes here, you know,
Sure.
wrote down some questions.
Yes, sir.
Like, so we already talked about how you started it, how you thought about it, the history class, your dad wanting you to start your own business, but let's talk about the future about this brand, right? Like, what are your visions? What's your goal? What is it that you're trying to do? And what is it? Because I know you said you're a Christian too. Like, with you being a Christian and you having this brand, what does the future hold for this brand?
For sure. Yeah, good question. I mean, like, you're asking me this in a good time too for the brand, because it's like, for me, it's make it or break it time. You feel me? Because I've been working on the brand since high school, so it's been about 6 years. And that's off and on, right? Like with school work, all that stuff, but like, and then taking a year away. But it's been about 6 years in total. So right now, I'm like just pushing everything as much as I can as far as like where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So where the where the brand is going is like, we're working on this podcast now. Obviously, we're sitting here.
Yeah.
And then like, hopefully I can get the showcases back up, because we were doing showcases in the last couple of years, and make that like excellent, like great. Like the last couple of ones, like the first time you do anything, like the first 3 or 4 times, it's always just part of reiteration. So like, you're still learning how to do it.
Right.
And no one sat there and showed me how to throw a show. You feel me? So
right.
Like, but now I feel like I know enough to make it great. So bring that in, and then hopefully all that ties back into the clothes. Like with the podcast, we'll be talking about like different designs and what they mean, and alongside other stuff, because the podcast is about like basically life, bro. Like, what do we think about different topics? You feel me? So yeah, but hopefully the brand will be able to like go in that direction, and we can kind of create a culture here, at least starting in South Florida, where like people have more of a Christian view or like perspective on different things. Because right now I feel like the world is pulling away from it in a lot of good ways too. Yeah. Because there's a lot of things that people,
I got you.
Like people claim to be Christian, like did like crusaders. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's not biblical. So like, we're pulling away from some of the bad things, but I'm hoping like we don't pull away fully from the thought.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. One thing that you said that I wanted to ask you was make it or break it, right? This is like your make it or break it time. Do you sometimes feel pressure? And with that pressure, do you sometimes feel like you need to perform or you need to design something? And like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, with that pressure, what do you do with that pressure?
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a loaded question. That's a really good question. So I definitely feel the pressure, and but it's every day for me. Like,
wow, what do you mean by that?
So this brand is something I think about every day. Like, definitely for the last 6 years, I think about like probably God, the brand, and my future. Now everything else falls under that, right? And like, so the pressure is daily, and I think a main pressure for me is like how people will view me if I was to fail. Because like, I'm very all those personality tests and all that stuff, they always tell me like, you're worried about success and your image, and it's true. So like, it's like make it or break it too, because I'm like, if this doesn't work, like, it's time to figure out if this is like gonna like work and take off, or like I need to move on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but it's what I love, and this is something like, it's a Pyrrhic victory for me, and that's how I view it. You know, like, have you heard of that? Pyrrhic victory?
What is that?
So it's a victory that you win. It's a victory when you win, but you do it at the cost of like basically your own life, or like whatever it is. So let's say you're in a war and you have 100 troops. Yeah. If 99 of them die in that war, but you won the war, it's a Pyrrhic victory.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So like, it's
so
kind of,
even if you give up your life for this, is what you're saying.
Right.
It's a victory.
No. It's a bad thing to have a Pyrrhic victory.
You've
lost everything you fought for.
Got you.
Feel me?
Got you.
It's like you giving it all up to get like one victory. So what I'm trying to say though is like, make it or break it is like, we're just trying to figure out if the brand's gonna launch and kind of spread on its own, or if it's like time to move on and maybe work on other projects and do different things. You feel me? But I feel really passionate about the brand, and I think it's great. We just need stuff like this and like the shows and like all that to just kind of pop off. Yeah. But I think we're in a good place to do it. Like, this is probably the best place it's been in 6 years at the same time. Yeah. So it's really good, and I think you asked me another question about pressure. You said, what do I do with it?
Yeah, what do you do with that?
Definitely pray through it, bro. Cause
Yeah?
like, yeah, like without God, without God, none of it's gonna work. Like if God doesn't will it to work, it will not work.
Mm.
And I know that, and because I know God can do anything, it's in His sovereignty to do so. So I fully like know that in my mind, but also trying to like trust Him that like if He does or doesn't make it great, then whatever happens next is cool. You feel me?
You're fine with that.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard because you invested so much into it.
And it's kind of hard too, being the person that you are, struggling with your image.
Right, exactly. And it goes back to failure, right?
Interesting.
So, but I think just bringing that pressure to God though, and really reminding myself and learning more and more that like Jesus is my greatest like success, or like my greatest possession, or like the greatest thing that I
The
have.
greatest treasure.
Yeah, and like if anything was to leave me or anything like that, like because I have Him, like I'm straight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's hard. Like it's really a hard lesson to learn, and God is constantly humbling me. You know, like constantly disciplining me and showing me love and compassion, but like He's constantly molding my character to really depend more on Christ being the thing that I am striving for and is
Yeah.
my main goal than like this brand or like anything else. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
So the pressure has actually brought you closer to God in a sense.
Oh, for sure.
Because if you didn't feel pressure, you probably wouldn't really pray through things as much as you do.
I think I would, but I think the pressure has molded my character.
Yeah,
Like the weakest parts about me,
yeah,
like having this brand and trying to muscle it out, it
Wow.
builds like resilience, perseverance,
Yeah.
grit,
yeah.
courage, discipline, like sacrifice, like all of that, because yeah, you have to do it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
One of the best things that I've heard someone ask is, what is the last thing that you've done that has required you to have faith?
Mm,
And I just feel like I feel like you're doing that daily
for sure.
by what you're saying, you know. So it's like, I don't know, it's pretty awesome.
Mm.
Do you feel like the pandemic has done anything to your brand?
Oh yeah, bro,
Yeah.
sales were like,
Yeah, talk
Low
me
at
through
an
that, and how do
all-time
you
low.
stay encouraged through that?
so the brand is more of like, I don't do it for money.
Right.
So it's more of like purely passion, and because I believe it's something that can really impact the world at its full potential. Now, getting it to its full potential is always the hardest part. You feel
Yeah.
me? But like, sorry, what was the question again? I wanna make
Yeah,
sure
the
I
question
answer
is
it.
through the pandemic, right? Like, how
through
did
the
you stay
pandemic.
encouraged, even when the sales were down, or even when, because sometimes, man, you could be in such a stride,
Mm,
you know, and then everything just stops.
mhm.
You know, like there's companies that had projections, everything
Mhm.
just stopped. There's people that had plans, everything just stopped. And
Yeah.
I guarantee you might have had plans too, starting of a new decade. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
how'd you stay encouraged, and how are you like still here? You know?
Yeah. I stayed encouraged because, yeah, again, I guess it's a deeper passion. So even through failure, I still feel the vision of it. Like, and that's why you asked me, do I feel the pressure? And it's every day. It's like that pressure to know that if I make the choice to work on it
Yeah,
and push through it, then maybe it will become what I envision.
gotcha.
But the vision is like so pressed on me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like I guess that's what pushed me through.
Gotcha.
But yeah, bro, there was a lot of failed plans. Like right before the pandemic, I was trying to plan a show in Atlanta.
Really?
So we're planning this show. I had some brothers and sisters up there that I was connecting with. And then we're planning the show, and then they're like, yo, I don't think we should do it. And I'm like, nah, we gotta do it.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta do it. Like, this is gonna, like, if I can get a show in Atlanta, like, that's gonna be crazy. And they're like, yeah, it would be crazy, but there's a pandemic, you feel me?
Right.
And like, in my mind, I'm not really like super like into like the health or like
Gotcha.
the no, you know, I don't know how to explain it to you. Just like whatever's frontline like happening in the world, I'm not always
what you
on
do.
top of it. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
So they're telling me like, no, this is really bad, and it just didn't register with me yet.
Yeah.
You feel me? So I was like, all right, like we'll just hold off on it, and thank God we did that because
Yeah.
then the school shut down, all that stuff shut
Yeah.
down, and like, so
Speaking about like people telling you what you should, and like just kind of giving you advice.
Hmm.
When you first started this, bro, were there people that doubted you? Or like, do you feel like you have a very good support system?
I feel like I have a really good support system. It's
Yeah, why
weird.
is that?
I don't feel like when I tell people what I'm trying to do, I don't think I found somebody that was like
oh, you're trash. Stop.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I ask people, I'm like, no. Tell me if I'm trash.
Yeah.
Because I need to know, bro.
Yeah,
like, I'm
yeah.
not trying to be, like, whack, you know? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be trash. I don't want to put out garbage. Like, and, yeah, like, I'm sure there's people that feel that way, that see the brand or whatever, but I don't talk to them, you know?
Mm.
Or they don't talk to me. And, like, but, yeah, I'm pretty open. Like, even on IG, I'll put stuff like, yo, is there something about the brand you don't like?
Yeah.
DM me. And people have told me, but they always leave it like, but I still like what you're doing. You know, they're like, I wish you would do this differently.
It's hard to not like a brand that's promoting common ground between everybody in a world where everyone's trying to be separated and not have common ground at all. You feel me? So
Sure.
I think that like, even though like maybe out of 10 shirts you might not like one, or maybe you might not like them all, right? But it's bigger than the clothing, right? Like it's something that you're really trying to push for the world to see.
For sure.
That we're all kind of, like you said, natives to the world, right?
Yeah, bro.
I know you mentioned something about shows and showcases. Why that?
Yeah, so shows started from basically, so I was a disciple, I was a young disciple, and then I would go to shows before I became a Christian, and I would be a vendor. So like, I was like a super small table at like this thing called CD4, which was like Creative District, and they would host like these shows.
Yeah.
And then like Kodak Black. So the last one that I was at, it was like Kodak and some other like big South Florida artists.
Yeah.
And this was, I think, right before they really like blew up nationwide. But they were
Okay.
CD4 and like the Creative District team. They always put together good shows, and like I was like, dang, I want to have my own show. But then I became a disciple, and then I started thinking like, dang, I want to create shows for God and like change the culture in South Florida through like art, because I already loved art.
But talk me through that really quickly. Like you had a plan, you became a disciple,
Right.
and you look at your plan now.
Yeah.
You're just like, all right, well,
It's garbage.
yeah, that's how you felt.
I had to scrap it. Yeah, I scrapped it. Like literally, so when I became a disciple, I threw away everything, and I was like, God, if you want this to happen, then like just make it happen.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
And then I always had the ideas, because again, like the pressure, I've always felt the pressure, like of the vision or the idea.
Yeah.
But I just let it go for as long as I could, and then when I came back, a lot more ideas started coming to me.
Gotcha.
That were more like, oh, I get it now. Now I can still design clothes, but I can do it for that. Oh, I can host like the shows I wanted to host, but I can make it like I invite Christian artists and it's Christian based. And like my friends who aren't Christians, I just have to ask them to make clean music. So that's what I started doing. So like my artists, my friends who are artists that are like rapping about, you know, trapping and all that stuff, I'm like, yo, make a song that's just clean and you can perform it at this show. So like I just started figuring out all the stuff I was doing before, I could do it for God. And that's how I guess like it changed. But I definitely scrapped everything at one point. It's kind of like,
how do those people react when you told them like
to make a song for God?
Yeah, or like
just
this
a clean
is
song?
the showcase we're gonna be doing, but you can't really, and I love you, but you can't really perform your number one song that's streaming on Spotify if it's like this. Like, wouldn't you think that they would look at your brand and be like, wait a minute, is that an accepting brand? Like, I can't be who I want to be. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
like, how do you walk that fine line? You know?
Sure, no, good question, dog. Like, I mean, when I told my friends, them boys were like straight, like because they knew me before, and before I became a disciple, I was very low key into myself. But the people that I did know, like, we was always on good terms. There wasn't like too many people I wasn't on good terms with.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so when I asked them, it wasn't like there was nothing wrong with it, and then they did it, and it was great. Honestly, like, yeah, a lot of them did great, and yeah, I don't think it's like, I guess the brand, the art things that I'm not gonna stand up for, as far as like, I'm not gonna accept all things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I do accept that there's a common ground, that we're all people.
Yeah.
But the thought is like, when it comes to acceptance, what's the best way to live? When we really look at the world for what it is. But we're not looking at the world anymore from a spiritual perspective. We're now looking at it from like success and like, what do I have physically?
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And people are taking a lot of those things as truth. Like, but if you have faith, now this is controversial, right? I thought, but if you have faith in God, then the whole worldview is different. Like Jesus. So, in the world's perspective, Jesus wasn't a successful person per se.
Right.
Like he didn't
like
he didn't buy his
teacher,
first home.
But he was right.
Yeah, like he didn't buy his first home at 21. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe he did, but it's not in the Bible. It doesn't mention it. Like
He's a
his
carpenter,
first
maybe he
home at
built it.
21. Yeah, exactly. And then like then he was investing in stocks correctly at age 30, and then at age 33 he was on all the vacations in the world.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like that. Like he wasn't like that. But if you look at his life, it's amazing. You feel me? But what I'm trying to say, I guess, is like from a spiritual perspective, if I was to give up, let's say everything I own and I sold it, in God's eyes, and I did it with the right heart, in God's eyes, like that's a treasure. Like that's amazing. Like that's like great. Like we went to go serve. But if I tell like someone who
You tell Bob down the street.
yeah, like the guy that is like buying his homes and he's living his life on his yacht and all that stuff, like that I'm gonna sell everything and I'm just gonna go live in some third world country and help there. Like he's like, no, why would I ever do that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's just, and that is just one example of many that we could talk about, like us thinking about the world from a spiritual point versus like a physical point. One more point is like a spiritual perspective is like the end of life for people who, let's say, believe in the Bible. I'm sure there's other religions, but like the end for us, there's God who judges, right? And then there's heaven and hell. But for a lot of other people, the perspective of like heaven and hell at the end of life doesn't exist.
Right.
But let's say all Christians are right.
Okay.
The worldview of not having that could be completely wrong, and like the way that you live your life could completely change if you believe that. You know, I'm not articulating this as well as I want to, but hopefully catching.
No, I got exactly what you're saying.
You know?
I got exactly what you're saying. I wanted to say, because I've been to one of the showcases, and you know, like, bro, you've been to concerts. Have you been to concerts prior to? You've been to concerts, right?
Yeah. I love them.
My sister, you know, she's in high school, whatever. She went to the Travis Scott concert or whatever. But one thing that I do want to say is that in a lot of these concerts, right, you're always next to maybe somebody that's probably taking up too much room, that wants to like. But in these showcases and in these performances, it almost seems like the opposite. Whereas everyone is so like welcoming. Everyone is so like, everyone's living out, I guess, the brand that you're trying to push, which is crazy because that's not the experience you have when you go to a lot of these showcases and concerts and performances. And bro, you go to a baseball game, like the chillest thing ever, and there's people fighting in the stands. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that you can go somewhere, obviously these showcases are sometimes in big groups, sometimes they're in small. But I went to one that was kind of small and it felt so intimate. Not only that, but people were so like, bro, nah, stand right here with me. Like, I don't know this song, but we about to listen to what they got to say. Or like if you bumped into somebody, it was kind of like, nah, talk with us, like be with us, you know? So it was just crazy how like you probably running around trying to make the show work. But from somebody that's been to one of them, I can honestly say like it's definitely not your regular experience at a showcase or your regular experience at a performance, you know?
Sure.
Where everyone's kind of just like, it's all about me and like, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's wild. Thanks for telling me that.
Nah, for sure.
I didn't even know that.
For sure, because if I would like to go again to something like that,
For sure.
you know what I'm saying? And then come to find like the brand literally, people were literally living out that Nader's brand there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was just crazy. It was just crazy to kind of see. One thing that I did want to ask you is what, I guess everybody gets asked this that's artistic, but what inspires you like in the purest form? Like when you look at the clothes and when you look at everything, I know you love Broward. You have it tatted in your soul. But like, other than that, or just that, like, what is it that when you look at it, you're like, man, like, I feel like designing right now. Or I feel like sitting down and sketching something. I feel like, or is this something that you haven't felt in a while? Like, talk me through that.
It's funny because, I don't know, these are really good questions.
Maybe it's like a loaded question.
Like
I know it's a lot, but
it comes in parts.
Really?
You might have to remind me of the question because when I
Okay.
talk, I forget.
Go ahead.
But like, so initially what really inspired me was Da Vinci, Kanye, and a guy named Glenn Brown, right? So it all came at different parts.
Yeah.
But basically Glenn Brown was like this basic like vlogger. Like before it wasn't really called vlogging or influencing or any of that. but he was doing all that, like thrifting. Before, it was cool to tell someone like you went to Goodwill to buy something. Like,
Yeah.
when you wouldn't tell anyone that, like, they were doing all that,
Mm.
And I would just see his stuff through Tumblr, and I saw him like design, and then he was going to Parsons and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I would just watch his stuff, and I was like, dang, like he was rocking dad caps before it was like really a thing, and like I was just like, wow, like that's fire. And like all his friends were like with him, and it was just dope. So that was one thing that started inspiring, like, I guess, the streetwear part of design,
Okay.
and that inspired me to like be willing to just make something slightly crazy that maybe no one really would accept it design wise,
Interesting.
because it didn't always fall into like the perfect composition and color theory of whatever you're trying to make. And because I didn't even know any of it, I was like, this looks dope, and I'd be happy, and that's all that mattered.
So you
And
disregarded the rules.
yeah, because
you
I
just
didn't
kinda-
even know the rules.
Right.
Like I'd accidentally disregard the rules because I didn't know them. And
Gotcha.
now the rules are important because like, it helps your skill set. But like that was one of the inspirations. Da Vinci was one of them because he made like airplanes that were 500 years ahead of like his modern time.
Yeah.
And like so I was like, man, I want to be able to think ahead like that, like
Yeah.
to creatively think like and imagine years beyond me, that when I die, like they have to look at the designs and try to recreate it then, because you know what I'm saying, like
Interesting.
that's wild. That was inspiration. And then yeah, Kanye for sure, just because yeah, I was always connected to Kanye in high school and middle school.
For sure.
It
sure.
was weird. People were like, Lil Wayne's the best rapper, and I was like, I see
I see what
but
you're saying, but I don't see that.
I don't agree. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I just couldn't agree, but I just thought he was always dope, and like his spirit to do what he felt was right, and like separate himself. And now separating yourself is like almost impossible, because that's like the culture now, right? It's like be yourself, which I'm not
Yeah.
downing it, you know what I'm saying? But he was doing it when it was like stepping out of a cookie cutter culture was hard.
Pink polo and the Mr. Jerseys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and designing Louis Vuitton sneakers,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
signing with Nike, and you know what I'm saying, wearing these
Yeah.
like weird shutter shades and getting everyone bandanas, like, and it was different. So
Yeah.
that was like the first thing. Then now, what inspires me more is like times with God. It's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's funny because design wise, like actually designing clothes has been very hard for me. I don't know why. So, but when I leave times with God, I feel really inspired. If I have like my software up, like if I have like Illustrator, whatever I'm using, and that's open, or if I see a scripture and like I'll think of things. But also like I've actually been more inspired after my times with God about like writing music,
Interesting.
like lyrics and stuff.
So we're gonna get like an
So,
album, or
I mean, I would love to just release like 2 or 3 songs.
okay,
That would be fire. Like,
dope.
we have some of the beats and I have some of the lyrics. I struggle with finishing songs.
Got you.
But like, yeah, but the other inspiration right now is a lot of Gucci, like Alessandro Michel, or
Okay.
I'm sure there's a certain way to pronounce his name, didn't wrong. But all his stuff right now, I think, is like just color wise, and he has this style that it breaks the culture of design but keeps it all together, and it's very streetwear, but not like everyone else's. It's like he's doing
Yeah.
a very good job at luxury streetwear,
Interesting.
and I think what he's doing is like amazing. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
I did like Off-White at some point, but I think like the way that Alessandro's doing it right now is like off the charts. You feel me?
You know when you were saying something about how you didn't know the rules,
Yeah, I didn't know
right?
the rules.
But you really liked what you liked, and that's what you knew.
yeah.
One of my favorite native shirts that I have is the red camouflage
Yeah.
with the bright yellow native. Like, bro, that's one of the craziest things because it really just kind of defies or goes against every single color palette, whatever that, or like the rules.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? But I think it's one of the greatest shirts I own.
Yeah, I love that shirt.
I love that shirt. One thing I wanted to tell you, bro, that I was thinking about actually before sitting here. You know, I always think it's a powerful thing when you can influence anybody through the 5 senses. Like, if I feel something, or like if I hear something, like I was thinking, what is the sense that I would never want to lose? You know? And I just didn't know how much I would hate being blind. And the reason why is not because you're blind, obviously, but just how beautiful things look when you really like the way they look. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes when you wake up, you open your eyes, like you take things for granted, but you get in the car, you hear something, you can choose what you want to hear, but you're seeing things by default. So that's kind of like the sense that I never really thought about. But it's so crazy, like just kind of seeing the clothes and seeing everything, just kind of like how important that sense really is. Yeah. You're good. Okay, yeah. So yeah, just how important that sense really is, the like seeing. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, I just kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about your influence on others through the things they see of this brand, like the clothing, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, and I think it's gonna be one of my last questions is, what do you want the lasting impact to be? Or what is it that you want Josh's influence to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, and what would that look like if people that had the natives' influence lived like what would that look like?
Yeah, it would be like everyone would be Christians. If I could choose, if God was like, make one thing happen, I'll do whatever. I'd be like, yo, just make everyone Christian so we can get up out of here. Cause like, yeah. So that's what I would say. If like the brand and the showcases and the influence of all the people like was to happen, because like the goal is like redesigning lifestyle through everything that we're doing, like the podcast. Like hopefully you can listen and we'll talk about whatever up here. Like we're gonna have people who are Christians and non-Christians like sit up here and they talk about, you know, career and being a Christian artist and failure and relationships and like whatever. Like how should Christians view homosexuality? Like let's talk about those things. And hopefully as we really break down different parts of life that are important and we try to figure out how to do it correctly, because I feel like our generation has a big eagerness to succeed and do things right. You know what I'm saying? It's like we have this really weird, for me it's weird, but I get it now a little bit more, but to be authentic and to have deep relationships and like really be a true person and stuff like that, and I get that. But I think like as we search for that, like hopefully at the end, because God is true and his way is right, we end up there. So like through like if someone sees a Pray Today shirt, hopefully they pray when they see that shirt.
Hopefully they pray today.
Yeah, exactly. And then they like they start their relationship with God some way, some form. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or like they see a Made in SoFlo thing, and then they think about, you know, community, because that's what it's about. Like it's about trying to unite, you know, South Florida and different things like that. Or, you know, they see like the Lord is my shepherd and they have courage for that day.
I love that hoodie.
You know
That's
what I'm saying?
One of my favorite hoodies I have.
So I'm like, hopefully like through the designs and through the shows and through the podcast, we're able to redesign people. And that sounds like, what do you call it, bureaucratic, but hopefully we can inspire and change people's lives and encourage them. And then maybe they find God, you know what I'm saying? But if they don't, hopefully just the different practices and the things that we talk about help influence them to just be better, you know? So that would be like my thing. Like if I could have one impact, it would be that.
For sure. I mean, bro, thank you. Sure. I think that's like a good note to kind of end this off on, bro. I just wanted to first and foremost kind of say thank you for just having me here, kind of doing this with you, because I've always loved this brand, but just to sit here and listen to every single nick and cranny, like, and kind of like, what'd you first think about it? Well, like what's the future? What does the future hold? And what does it mean? Like, what does natives even mean? Like the vision. I've been close to you for a while, bro, and there's a lot of things that I learned today about the brand that I didn't even know. And I'd be like wearing it a lot. But just thank you so much, bro. Sure. I appreciate you. And you already know, bro.
Yes, sir.
Love you.
Love you, dog.
For sure.